we just want to be informal. We just want to have a good conversation around how do we try to get down to the last approved budget at $50. As everybody will recall, there was a budget that was up for approval. It was, $54, $55, don't know about it today, but it didn't pass. And so now we are trying to get back to the last official approved budget of $50. So over the past number of months, as we've been combing through financials and trying to understand, where we spend money, where we can save money, we've looked at a variety of things. But at the end of the day, we're trying to figure out how do we get down $50. Now, without, I'm going to use some general financial terms. You're certainly welcome to try to needle me on it, but that's not the scope of the meeting today. We just want to try to figure out where we are and how do we find some savings. So, for example, it's important to note, in 2023, we lost money operating this place. We didn't get to our $48 budget in 2023. So that means even in 2023, we weren't at our budget. Now, granted, we had a $48 budget, but it doesn't mean we hit it. And even if you look at the budget booklets that were sent out back in September, whenever it was, there was a push to get to 54. Yes, we can debate whether it was 54 or 55, not important for today. What's important today is to understand it's costing us more than even 54 or 55 to run this place, the way our current burn rate is. Now, what I call a burn rate means, sort of my terms, we spend money every month, right? To keep the lights on, we pay payroll, we pay for this, we pay for that. At the rate of which we're spending throughout the year, that's what I call our burn rate. Our burn rate, honestly, we're trying to wait for 2024 to come through, but I'm feeling like our burn rate is going to be far closer to 60 than it'll be at 50. So what's that mean? That means that we then start pulling money out of our savings account. Think about it as like in your own residential terms, right? You have a savings account, you have a 401k, you have an IRA, whatever you have, and you have your checkbook. But if you exceed the means of your living, then you have to take money out of savings or out of your 403 or whatever you pull it out of to subsidize. And that's kind of what's happening here. We have to spend more money out of our savings, CDs, you name it, not reserves, to pay the bills. And so this meeting today is really an opportunity that we're trying to open it up to you, the residents. And I do appreciate that you folks are here. I've actually had, an individual come knock on my door at home and say, I can't be at the meeting, but here's some great ideas. I read through it, called the resident. We spent an hour and 45 minutes on the phone talking about the ideas this individual came up with. And so that's really what today is about, is to see what thoughts do you folks have to help us, the board, figure out how can we find some additional savings, because we got to get there. And honestly, like I said, we're trying to get to a $50 budget. Even if you look at the, I'm not sorry to bore you, but last year they were pushing for 54, 55. So we needed to come up with more money because we're not there. But it didn't pass, and so now we got to go back down to 50. But we're not near 50, and we got to figure out how to get to 50. So, like I said, I think our burn rate is actually closer to 60. You could debate me all day long, is it 58, 59, 60, 61? That's not really the point. The point is we're living outside of our means. And we got to figure out how to bring that back in. So, theoretically, even if you looked at the last year's budget, so they were coming in at, I think the front page said 54. Could have been 55. Either way, what that was essentially saying, if you did the math, that's probably closer to $150-some thousand. They were feeling like we needed to add more money into this community to run it because 50 isn't working. And so I put down, like, we need to be somewhere around 250 to 300,000 that we got to find if we think we're going to go backwards and get to 50. Because when it was 50, in 2024, I guess it was, everything keeps going up, right? And so we've got to find more to get back down to 50, because that's what we, the residents, voted. We said we're not going to afford 54, 55. We agreed to land on 50, but we're not there. So we got to come up with some ways that if we want to try to keep, the rates here affordable, we've got to make some different decisions about how we're running this place today, because what we're doing today isn't working. Now, I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom. I just want to be transparent with everybody and say, look, we need to come up with some solutions and some ideas, and who best to get those from but you folks in the room. Gil, you have a question?
Yeah. One thing is people are micromanaging the place without knowing facts. That's where I'm headed. My grandfather always told me.
Can you have a microphone, please?
We have a microphone if you'd like to use that. That way I'm not the loudest voice in the room.
Hello, this is Joe Lento, Unit 4. What I'm saying here is, grandfather used to have a saying is, don't try to run a grain store with a candy store budget. It's basically what we're doing. We're not catching up with what the reality of today of costs. My idea is we have a way of doing a one-time assessment and get us back to where we need to be, and then set our HOAs for that. Because right now we're so far behind, we'll never catch up. And I don't care if you cut back your help, you cut back this and that. There's no money left in the turnip. So that's what I'm saying. So we need to look at it. We need to look at it. The piggy bank is empty. So why? First of all, people have not been educating us. The other boards haven't. David and I had a nice talk yesterday. Some of it I didn't really like, but facts are there. The facts are there that we need to look at it, that we got to get caught up. And I would say an assessment, I don't know how much, that would bring us to reset button and then go from there and do it one time. So, quite fine.
Thank you for that. And you'll notice we have the flip chart up here. Our Vanna White has a marker, and she's going to make notes of all the suggestions. Some will say, not all suggestions are good suggestions. I would suggest that we take all suggestions and try to validate them and see if they potentially work. Doesn't mean that just because somebody said, that particular idea doesn't mean we have to implement it, but we certainly like to hear the ideas. So our scribe will be just writing these notes down so that we can kind of take the note and chip away at them and figure out how to keep finding some savings. Yes?
One way to say it here is.
Hang on, we got a microphone right behind you.
One way to save here. I don't want to say I told you so, or I said so, or any kind of stuff like that. I just want to get to a ground zero, which I've been saying for the last couple of years already. Okay, we're not going to reach that ground zero by just coming up and saying, okay, we're going to fix the tennis courts today. We're going to do this, and then all the other problems that we've had, we just let them sit behind and we don't do anything about it. But we go ahead and we spend money we didn't have. Okay, now, my proposal, my thinking, okay, from today till the end of this year, we should not be spending one nickel. Okay, not one nickel should be spent other than running costs. That's it. We should not be doing any projects, anything until we get this stuff all straightened out. Okay, because we are not straightened out. Right? Our accounting is not straightened out. We got new people coming in. I don't know how that's going to work because things are changing so much with the administration, everything going on now in this world. They're going to be learning, and they're going to come in here to learn with us, right? So I always said we should have been taking care of this by ourselves. And the only way to do that is stop spending money. Do not build anything from today till the end of the year. When you get the end of the year results as far as your But if the audit, get the audit, and you know where you stand, what you did in 2024, you got a starting point. But if you keep adding and adding and adding and adding and adding, you don't have nowhere to start from. So that's my thinking.
Thank you for that. So to that, to that point while you're talking about it, we do have some projects that are in process, and we need to finish those. And I like the idea of stop spending. We're on a hiring freeze as it is. So thank you for that idea. So just as we get into some additional ideas, I think there's a couple of different ways we can look at how do we get to the number we need to be at. And that's going to happen in one or two ways. One, we figure out how to raise our revenues. Two, we figure out how to reduce our expenses. Or three, we raise revenues and we cut expenses. That's how we're going to get there. So, we can certainly look at those ideas as well. I'm going to propose a very unpopular idea, just because I have all my friends from Michigan in the room. So there's two things we can consider. Doesn't mean we have to do it. These are just topics of conversation. RV lot. So where we are today is not where we were 2 years ago, 5 years ago, when the RV lot, was decided to be free. It's a great amenity. But we've got to find revenue, and we've got to find reductions in expenses. Because if we don't find revenue, then we have to come up with all of that cutting of expenses. And at some point, how far do we cut and how deep do we cut? Right? So, we cut all the wages out of the place. That's our number one expense in this community. But at some point, that seems to be dangerous / silly / not appropriate. So we got to figure out how we find revenue and how do we cut expenses. So for example, our RV lots are free. Again, I know it's not a popular topic. The board can't make that decision to begin to charge. This has to go out to a member vote. I know it went out to a member votes before. But just do the math with me for a minute. We have 250 lots, approximately, whether it's 251 or it's, whatever, 250, easy number. If we were to charge $20 a month for a lot, now that's just a starting point. It could be 10, it could be 20, it could be 30. There are big lots and there are very small lots. Could it be a 10 for a small and 20 for a medium and 30 for a large? I don't know. But if we just did $20 a lot, follow me on the math. We got 250 lots. Multiply that times $20 a month. That comes up to approximately $60,000 at $20. There's not a place here in Florida, I bet you, I'll bet a beer and I'm not a betting man, that you can't find someplace as affordable as $20 a month to help us raise our revenues. Gil.
That's if all the lots are available. Right now, we have 30 lots right now that are not sold on.
Understood.
So those that are open to whatever.
Are they actually open or is it just
They're
people
open.
not here?
That are open.
Yeah, and again, this would have to go out to a member vote. Do we do an off-cycle member vote just to see if we do this?
Because I made some adjustments. We made some corrals with the smaller trailers like that one over there.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I stuck it up against the fence.
You need a microphone?
Right.
With the adjustments that we've done, we made more spaces.
What I was gonna say, is Brookridge gonna take charge of doing everything in the RV lot that we're doing ourselves now? Okay, because I'm not gonna volunteer to go cut grass and do all that. And electric bill, we're paying the electric bill, we're paying for other things there, we just paid that blacktop done.
That would be part of the consideration.
Okay, so why would I wanna volunteer with Gil to go take care of the place if I gotta pay for the place?
I understand.
Okay, and not only that, if you're gonna charge for there, why don't you charge for everything?
Well, I know that's-
Pool, you got the,
Sure.
down there, the tennis courts, you got a lot of stuff you can charge for. So it's an amenity that you're gonna have to look at for everything.
But the same token, why are we reaching down to do this? Why can't we keep the status quo where it is today and bring out HOAs to cover this? You know, but not doing all this cutting that's unnecessary. As far as I'm concerned.
But I don't think we should be the ones that have.
No, I mean, every one of us.
Let me just weigh in
Well,
on
I mean, yeah, they want to do an assessment, I don't have a problem with that, because that covers everybody.
Right.
But this doesn't, I mean, unless you're gonna charge every amenity in here for the clubhouse, the pool, tennis courts, pickleball courts, bocce, we can go all the way around. I mean, you would have to
Sure.
charge everybody.
Well, actually, so let me just kind of tell you where we were thinking. And again, I know it's not popular, and it doesn't mean we're doing it, because I can't do it as a board, the members have to agree, right? But the RV lot is a little bit different than when you think about the pool, pickleball courts and all that. It only has a limited number of lots for folks to go into. And it has been full from time to time, and there's been a waiting list. So it's not really open to every resident that lives here that pays their $50 per month. It's only open to those that have an RV and when there's a space to get in. So we're just, again, it's just an idea to say, we're trying to find revenue and we're trying to reduce expenses.
And you'll agree with me, the only reason there wasn't any availability because Brookridge was running it, they were sitting there putting little trailers on big spots and big trailers.
Oh, yeah, we have to rearrange it.
And he rearranged all that, so that's why we have those spots now.
Sure.
Okay, nobody's being turned down, you know, all you gotta do is apply. Okay, I had to wait almost 3 years before I got a spot because Brookridge was running it. Okay, and they had no clue what they were doing. When Gil took over, and I worked with Gil on this, you know, things have gotten so much better. And yeah, it does. I mean, only a certain amount of people can play tennis. Only a certain amount of people can play pickleball. I mean, you know, if everybody getting here to use the pool at the same time, they ain't happening. Okay, so, there's, I mean, we can use.
No, I get it. I'm just saying, it's a consideration.
Yeah, I know.
We can't do it as a board. It would have to go to the member vote. But help us come up with some more ideas. That was just a starting point. Obviously an unpopular starting point, but let's not be sort of not willing to talk about the tough issues.
Okay, because that's one more thing, you get to the point, if you take charge of it by charging us rent, now you're looking at insurance, a whole lot of.
So we've already met with the insurance company last week to have them look at that, to tell us what that might look like if we take it over. So we're trying to do our due diligence.
Yeah, plus-
We do have to run things differently though, to your point. I mean, we already are dealing with a situation where things weren't running well and the kitchen's not open. So we can point to all kinds of things around the park that don't run well. So we have to think differently to figure out how to run it. But if we chose to do it, we'd have to think about how do we manage it. Additionally, we probably want to also put some, I don't want to say controls, but you know, when you go over to the RV lot, there's RVs in there that haven't been moved in eons. I don't even know if they could move them.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you, we walked and talked about this yesterday.
that trailer, I called them last night, he will take care of it, no, it didn't have 9 months.
So in 9 months, it hasn't moved.
Yeah, well,
Well, that's because we're storing it for free. Anyway, Jerry. Yes. Can you, do we have a microphone for anywhere? Oh. We'll bring it back to you in just a second. I know you had your hand raised.
Hello? Okay, Jerry Kraft, Unit 1. Okay, I don't like the idea of the RV. We keep going after the RV lot. It keeps getting voted down. But I have some questions, and I know this is gonna sound horrible, but are we overstaffed anywhere? Is there any cuts that we can do without hurting the employees, maybe an hour here, an hour there? Everybody has to take the hit, not just the RV compound.
Agreed. And so that's why I opened up that conversation, because I knew it wasn't going to be well received. So that's a prompt to everybody in here to say, they come up with some other ideas. Like that one is good, but do you know how much we budget in our wages for the year?
I don't.
You have your budget booklet. I mean, I know you have it somewhere. That's okay. I'm just pointing out some basic things. So, you know, we've talked about code enforcement, right? That has the biggest target on its back. In 2023, we spent $400,000 on code enforcement. $400,000 for code enforcement. And that's a big number. Now, again, we can keep cutting and cutting and cutting, and I appreciate that, like we did with, the overnight shift with code enforcement, but we can keep cutting. Give us some recommendations, like what cuts would you be willing to accept?
Well, taking the day force off and putting it on night, don't do day force at all on code enforcement. Why do you need day force?
Okay, so hang on, did you have any more recommendations while you're there?
I was just gonna say, I think everybody has to absorb this, and we can't keep going after the RV combo. I agree with Al, I believe. The pool, only 36 to 38 people can go in the pool. We have to be fair to everybody. This has been denied how many times? I just feel like they keep going after the RV compound, and it really irks me, because how many times is the community gonna say no? We have to, but I agree, we have to all work together. I just think that we need to maybe, I hate to say it, cut staff a little bit and maybe just sit down and work it out instead of going after one thing.
That 400,000, was that just salary or do you?
Salaries.
No, just
Code
salary.
enforcement salaries, $400,000 in code enforcement salaries. It's important to note, that, while we've been talking to a finance company about coming in, they're actually full-blown HOA management firms, right? They've got at least 400 associations they manage. The other one had about as many. And when I was telling them about code enforcement, they said, well, normally we have code enforcement in the communities we run. They maybe work 2 to 3 days a week, one shift. And, if somebody builds a fence that wasn't supposed to be built, they'll still be there 2 days later when they come back. We're the only community that I can think of. I even talked to our attorney yesterday. We're a unique place where we have code enforcement prior to getting rid of the 10:30 shift. I'll tell you about that as a remedy that we've been working on. But prior to that, we're a 24/7 code enforcement department, and nobody else does that. So I know we've talked about it before. We like to think of them as security, but we can't afford it. So we can put a footnote in our budget next year to say, we're going to ask for X rate, and some of that X rate is going to go to maybe bring in a security company, and the residents can pay for it because that's what they want. But $400,000. Let me just give you a point of comparison, just as a reminder. So admin.
Why do we have day security here? Why don't we take day security, put it on night?
We don't have security, we have code.
Okay.
They can't like.
Well, I like that idea, thank you, I like that. But you can't see it at night. At night, you can't see the things that you probably need to see during the day.
People driving around, don't people here feel more secure? I do.
But code doesn't stop those people, you have to pull the sheriff, so it's useless. You're paying for no service.
You are.
So-
Still deserves people from coming in here.
Well, I like the idea, we'll consider it, so,
That's supposed to be.
Listen. thank you. I mean, it's a good idea, and I'll tell you right now, at this point, about another week, Peter is going to begin working from 10:30 at night to 6 o'clock in the morning, managing code enforcement by himself. So we will have somebody in the park, because there was a posting on a social media site that said he was unsafe. And so this is an opportunity for him to help us identify whether this place really is safe or not at night. And so he'll be driving around from 10:30 to 6 every hour, 40 minutes in the truck, and then 20 minutes in the office to do his work. And so we're already paying a salary thanks to the employment contract that was signed, right? So we have commitments that we're bound to because employment contracts were created and board members didn't approve it, and nor was there any conversation about it. So we're still dealing with that. We cleaned up another contract last Monday, so that contract's gone, and there's no employment contracts except for one, and it's Peter's.
Here's two suggestions,
Sure, go
and,
ahead.
and it's a two-part thing. I think you have an optic problem. I think you have an optic problem more than a budget problem. I think people would pay more in their HOAs if they saw a return in service. I've been here 2.5, almost 3 years. In that time, I see trees growing out of gutters. I see the roads are not maintained, they're not swept, there's debris, they're not. The landscaping firm does what they're supposed to do and nothing more. When they're not on the roads, I'm not sure what they're doing. Same thing with code, where they seem to be doing those barcodes every single day at the office from 2 to whatever time, every single day, and there's never an evening hour. It's an optic issue. people don't see a return on their investment. It appears that the community is either stuck in the 1980s, and all of our buildings look that way, the clubhouse, the administration office, or that we see a decline in service, a decline in appearance. The trees were removed, all the chips are laying there in mounds in the middle, and the beautification committee, God bless them, are the only people that are trying to make things look better. I don't see any new trees being planted with nice flowers. There's none of that. So it's a decline in service and a demand for more income. Now, as far as saving money, why don't we, or have we looked into subbing out the entire landscaping service? Insurance, payroll, equipment upkeep, equipment purchase, all of that. It's, in my experience with other HOA places having relatives, they all contract out their landscaping. It works out cheaper, all of them. And there's no hassle to write exactly what you want, and it's all nicely done. The other thing is, people are saying about the RV, how many people use that as opposed to the community, how many people use the pool. We have a sauna. How many people use that thing? And we have that electric running. It's a small charge, but it all adds up. How many people go in that sauna a month? Does anybody know? Why do we have that running? If I had my faucet open, you'd go and turn it off. But we have that sauna running. It's the little, you take care of the little stuff, the big stuff takes care of itself, always.
Let me see if I can respond to a couple of your points. I think you'll find this encouraging. So let's see, you were talking about landscaping. Currently, Richard is working on putting together an RFP for lawn mowing services for common areas.
An RFP is a requested proposal.
Yes, sorry. So we are looking at that as an option. We have 4 mowers in-house, right? And they're not cheap. It takes some money to maintain them, preventative maintenance, break fix. And then we met with Public Works crew the other day after Vince is no longer here. And, they were telling us how every day in the summertime, all they do is they cut grass all day long, every day, and they can barely keep up, and sometimes they, can't get it all done. So, well, a variety of things. But to your point, we are actually looking to see if we can bring in a third party that can do our common area lawn mowing, empty lots, Brookridge Boulevard, and get a quote and see where that comes in. Will it be more affordable? I don't know, but we won't know unless we go through this process. So we're looking at that. Code enforcement stickers. I didn't understand why there was a person sitting in a pickup truck every day against the fence up at the front gate from like 2 to 3 or whatever it is, and that's the only time you can get a sticker. So we've already taken away one of the code enforcement trucks because they don't need to have 2 trucks at the same time. They just don't. How we got there, doesn't matter. But we've taken one of those trucks away from code enforcement, and I'm already talking to Arlene to say we need to think about how we do those barcodes differently. So for example, have people park towards the back of the admin office where it says employees only, do not enter. That's where code enforcement is. One consideration is open it up from the hours that folks are in that office, have them come by, get a sticker, go through the paperwork. There's an extra table where people can sit down and look at the paperwork, make sure everything's good, walk out that door, put the barcode on and go. It doesn't have to be only from 2 to 3, and we don't have to pay somebody to sit in the truck running air conditioning to try to stay cool. So why not open that up and think differently? So we're looking at that. So those are the 2 things. What was your third thing? Asana? Absolutely. We're going to write it down and look at it and find out if we can figure out how often it actually gets used. So we're looking at all those things. There's more hands up back here. I don't know. Jerry, I think you were up first. We got a microphone coming.
Jerry Kraft, Unit 1. Well, I was thinking we have a lot of people from outside coming in, and if we're in a dire straits with our money, why don't we charge when people come in for dances or bingo or whatever? Why don't we do a little surcharge on them? I mean, not exorbitant amount, but
Write it down.
maybe a few bucks or whatever. Maybe
That's like-
even buying a thing for these dances, maybe even buying a card so much per year to let them into the park, even bingo. It's just a thought, because we have to stick together and look out for us, and they're outside, and I know they bring a lot of revenue in, but I've gone to places where if you're not a resident, you have to pay a little bit of a surcharge. So it's just a thought.
No, I like it, it's good. And in fact, expanding on that, I had tossed around the idea and chatted with some about, do we offer a premium gate pass, if you will, to get in the park for vendors that are in here on a frequent basis so they don't have to wait in any visitor line? Charge a premium for that pass and let them come in the resident line, as a thought. Especially when we get into our second gate, I won't be in this role, but when that happens, we'll have other places for residents to come in that they don't get tied up at the front. But a lot of places offer a premium pass at a premium price. So if you're a landscaper and you're doing 10 different houses every day, why wait at the gate when we can charge you a premium? We'll give you a monthly, a quarterly, or a yearly pass and get a premium out of it.
Even to our events,
What's that?
even to our events that we have.
I'm open to the idea. That's great. We've written it down. Because that's the other thing is we don't charge, we don't have any room rentals in the clubhouse that I can find. Now, I asked about it the other day. I was like, how much do we collect in room rentals? It's a clubhouse. I know it's for the residents. I'm not, again, as popular as talking about the RV lot, but, should we charge? I was telling somebody, where did she go? Anyway, I was giving a quick update on the kitchen. We had to get quotes to now professionally deep clean the kitchen because it wasn't managed well. So we think we have a quote we're going to land on. We're going to try to bring that company in on Friday so we can, do the professional cleaning. And then from there, I volunteered just based on my hospitality background to put together a daily, weekly, monthly checklist that has to be done in the kitchen every day. And so we talked to some of the folks in Public Works. One of them actually, before coming here, worked in the kitchen, in a district environment, knows how to, work in a kitchen. And so we're thinking, because we know we can't keep up, and that's why we're in the condition we're in, it wasn't managed or maintained well. But we gotta, get on top of, we're sort of on top of the rat thing, but we can't stop and slow down because it just never goes away. But we have to have a daily cleaning checklist. And we talked to like I said, the Public Works folks and said, we may put it on a rotation. Maybe, one of you comes in and does it on Monday and Tuesday, and the next one comes in and does it, Wednesday and Thursday. But if we clean that kitchen every day, it's probably a 20 to 40 minute task every day to keep it clean. But if we're going to keep it clean, that costs wages. And where do they come from? I mean, they're going to have to come from us, the residents, unless maybe there's a way to maybe associate some fees when clubs come in and then they're making money. How do we offset those costs? Because obviously we need to keep that kitchen clean. It's a commercial kitchen. We're licensed by the state. We have, I think Jamie is going to come in at some point and say hello. We'll introduce her, but she had to get her ServSafe license. Our ServSafe license here had expired back in April of 2024. So we were operating a commercial kitchen and we weren't even meeting the standard requirements in the state of Florida. So we, the management topic, we don't manage things well, and we have to think differently and change, and we have to hold people accountable. We can't put up with incompetence. That's how we got to where we are. And we can all point to things around the park that we can all look at, trees not being ground properly and bushes, and we just have to manage and hold leaders accountable. You were next, yes, ma'am.
Vivian Blair, Unit 4. Why does code enforcement do the outside of our fence? I see them every night. I live across the street from the old school gate. I see them every night on the outside looking in. What's the purpose of that?
Well, that's a really great question. I've only heard that one other time, and I've got it on my list to dig a little deeper into that. One of the things that we are moving forward with is I just ordered a vehicle tracker. And so we're going to put it on our code enforcement vehicle so we can see where all the code enforcement vehicles drive throughout the day, throughout the night. It's a tracker. This is an industry term, don't laugh, but this tracker actually drops what they call cookie crumbs. And so it drops it every 3 seconds digitally. And so when we open up the app and we want to see where the truck went, every 3 seconds that truck is moving, it's being tracked, like where it went, what speed it was going, and when it stops, it doesn't track it anymore. So, for example, I've heard comments and complaints from folks, from the residents, that somebody sits out there trying to run the radar gun, and they just sit there for a really long time. In fact, somebody said, they saw somebody falling asleep in the truck. Well, that tracker would show that they moved over here to start doing their radar, and then it started up again 20 minutes later because it moved somewhere else, or 4 hours later, or 30 minutes, whatever. So we have a tracker coming in. I put together a tracker policy so the employees know that they're being watched for safety, security, all those things. I've submitted this policy over to our attorney to make sure that, in the state of Florida, there's no issues from an HR labor law issue. But those are things we're going to start tracking. So if we kind of look at every night that I'm driving around, we should ask them, why are you driving around? Or during the day, why did you start radar and sit there for 3 hours? We're just trying to be mindful of where we spend our money and how we're spending it so we can be accountable. So hang on, I think there's something over here.
Can I first, while we're on the kitchen, I just want to introduce Jamie. She's our new clubhouse manager, and she's also overseeing the guys that are in the maintenance shed, Public Works. She's overseeing them as well, and she has a good background for especially the clubhouse, and now she's learning about that, and I just wanted to introduce her.
And she's diligently working on, yes, thank you. We're so proud of that. Initially, we were going to hire her to replace Patrona, but she still will do those responsibilities for Patrona as well in the clubhouse. So we're excited about trying to spend more time and energy to make sure the news and views are great, wonderful, what a great tool for the community, but she's also focusing on that. And we also asked her to oversee the 3 public works staff because we're going to have them in the kitchen, potentially on a rotation. They can start up here. I'll talk about time clocks in a few minutes, but we have a time clock here where public works can actually punch in. So we can actually see when people punch in and when they punch out. They can punch in, check in with Jamie, pick up their roles and responsibilities for the day, and then take off. So thank you for being here, Jamie. I think Rich is back here. I'm afraid
Hi, Rich Thread, Unit 3. Does anyone know if I mentioned the word capital contribution? People voted on that last year. They turned it down. Does anyone know what capital contribution is? The lady right here. I'll tell you what it is right now. When you buy a house in here, not the one who live here, Alan will not pay this. Jerry will not pay this. Anybody moving into a new house or buying a house, they don't pay a contribution. Capital, $150. I just went through a closing on a house in here, $8,000 for a closing of a house. County, state, brokers. The money you would make, you will not pay. You will not pay. People moving in is $150. Times that by 200 homes, that's $20,000. 5 years ago and 2 years ago, it was voted down by the people because they did not know what it was. Did not know what it was.
Rich, we can go up to 200 on the capital contributions.
Right.
And that is paid by the buyer.
Right. It's free money. It's free money.
It goes into the reserve account to help pay for our roads, anything that needs to be done. We have put that on the ballot. People don't understand it and they vote it down. It's a good source of income for the community, and it's not coming out of our pockets. It's coming out of the pockets
of the new guys coming in.
Of the new ones coming in.
Okay, when I moved in 14 years ago, we paid a capital contribution.
Okay.
It was $100 back then.
I paid back in 1978, $25.
Right, so we do have one. It's
Right.
just you're suggesting to raise it.
Right.
Okay.
We don't have it.
Right here, income.
To everyone.
Income.
You whacked it like it was gonna be a new fee.
One of my favorite words, income. I like it.
Dig for the income.
Raise it.
Dig it.
If you look at our records, we are not collecting, we collect for the estoppel fees, but capital contributions was never passed.
Well, we've written it down. We'll look into it.
Another thing I would like to ask, how much was the cost of the tracker for the truck?
$250 for a 6-month subscription that we can track it and see what's happening. It seems like a pretty reasonable contribution. Certainly a lot cheaper than an employment contract.
Another thing, the RV compound,
It costs $60,000 to blacktop your roads out there, right?
No.
$60,000.
No, $60,000 was the whole project. The RV compound was 32,000.
I got the,
I know what you got the numbers, because they did the road coming in, which belongs to the county, and they did all the other, that was all part of that $61,000.
okay,
That was not-
but you only paid 10,000 of, even if it was 32,000.
That's all we were asking.
I think the RV compound should reimburse Brookridge for all of it.
Okay, let's see. I'll get to you in a second. Let's ask this young lady. We got a microphone coming your way. Oh, wow.
I have families that live, I have family members that live in communities like this,
Keep it a little closer to
or
you.
expensive than this. And their contribution is a percentage of the sales price paid by the buyer. They get like $3,000 in a capital contribution if they sell a house for $300,000. It's given money. They use that for expansion, they use it for putting in second pools, for adding different amenities that the members want. And that's all it's earmarked for, just for special things.
Great, thank you. Jerry, I think you had your hand up.
My question was, if we could find a way to ticket these speeders on Friday that come in, if there's any way we could make some money and we could keep our community safer. If
So-
there's any solution at all.
Well, there are solutions that we are actually looking at. We're trying to find some solutions that are sort of technology-based and not a person in a vehicle. And so there are radar devices that can also take pictures so that we're not investing in somebody to stand there and, sit in the truck. But I'm hearing you. One of the tasks we have for Peter when he works the night shift is to come up with his recommendations on how we make this place safer. And then come up with solutions on how those might occur. So we can certainly put that on his radar to look at. But you're absolutely right, because I think we're going to struggle a little bit with our code enforcement violations this year. The more I've been digging into our selective enforcement, that's a real problem here. And we're going to get sued one day. Truly, I mean, you have no idea. I've looked at the code enforcement report for the last 6 months. We are heavily inconsistent on how we hand out violations. It'll be listed. It looks like, I think the targeting term is what I hear around here. It's actually called selective enforcement. HOAs lose in courts all the time over that. Second, we're handing out violations that you can't even point back to the document in our governing docs. And so we're giving erroneous violations, and I've told them they have to stop. Never, like, you can't do that. So one of the things we've asked Peter to do is look at all 6 months worth of code violations. Go back, and anytime you point to something that's in rules or regs or deed restrictions, any article that you point to, I want him to print that article, and then we're going to identify how many people got that violation. But we have a lot of code enforcement violations. They're pointing to a document, and there's nothing in there about why they got their violation. So we're giving violations over erroneous things, and we're doing it selectively. We can't do that.
But you're asking the guy who's in charge of these techniques to police himself.
Yes, yeah, and there's a reason why I'm doing that, because I need him to understand that it's not correct. I already have the answers. I need him to come up with the answer so he can learn through this process, because we can't do the wrong thing and try to get away with it selectively. Pardon me?
Maybe he's in the wrong position.
Well, that's an employment contract issue that thankfully we're stuck with. So, yes, we are. I've already taken it. Well, I understand. And I've taken that contract to the attorneys, and we're trying to figure out how to, get out of that. But that was another gift.
Doesn't void a contract.
Pardon me?
Failure to perform doesn't void a contract.
Let's take this offline if you'd like. We're going to keep on moving, but we're dealing with it.
David,
Yes.
one thing that I find in here is education. The public that we have in here, a lot of them have news and views, they have computers. You're talking 30% maybe
Mhm.
of the public. What about the other public, voting public is not educated? And this is causing us a lot of problems of being held back in the eighties. We need to educate, like this, capital gain. This stuff people don't understand.
Mhm.
And if they don't understand, they vote no.
And it's a good point, thank you for that. That's why we're doing meetings like this. We want, well, but they can get it on YouTube. Now, can they go to YouTube? I don't know, I can't, we can try to do more mailers, but there's cost for that. But we do want to try to educate, so we figure if we educate all of you, you can go back and talk to 3 of your friends or 4 of your friends, and eventually it'll get out there. My wife says if she ever wants to know what's going on in Brookridge, she just has to get in the swimming pool, and she knows everything that's going on. So, we can, I'll do a poolside chat on how do we fix our budget, right? But we as the residents have to help educate others, get the information out, but we just have to keep talking about it.
Is there anything in our rule that says you have to have these meetings every Wednesday? In other words, there's some people that can't come on Wednesday.
Mhm.
Like, I happen to be one of them. I
Sure.
have something today because of it. I mean, is there anything that says you can't alternate the different days? Yeah, maybe
There's nothing that says we,
Or a Thursday
well,
night, maybe you get
sure.
more people.
So
Board meetings.
I believe we have the flexibility to rethink this differently. However, there are, and I'm not saying this isn't, I'm just putting it out there. When we send out that agenda for the annual meeting coming up this month, we have to put the agenda or put the dates for all board meetings in that agenda. And so that sort of puts it in stone. Now, however, if you look at the information that's in the agenda versus what's in the news and views, we don't even line up. So do we have the ability to move it around? Apparently, because we already have it. We already have a lot of confusion in those dates. And I appreciate your thoughts on that. At one point, we were going to do a town hall, a workshop, we were going to do a board meeting. But that's a lot of time and energy for the volunteers of the board to also set all that aside. So we thought, well, maybe we'll just do town halls. Let them be informal. Let's have great dialogue, open up things, talk about things. And then maybe we don't need a workshop and then we'll have the board meeting. But, future boards can do whatever they want to do. But I appreciate the recommendation because I, like you, sometimes I'm not available. In fact, I was on jury duty and I got released yesterday. So, absolutely. And it goes back to when do you get your barcodes and how do we make that more available? And, yes, I think that's a good idea. We'll write that down. It's not a budget saving thing, but I appreciate your concern. Yes.
I attended thank you. I attended a budget meeting. Hello? Okay. So I attended a budget meeting. This was for the administration building. And I'm not sure why people were signing non-disclosure agreements, but they didn't ask me to, so I can speak. Well, exactly. So they were reviewing last year's budget, and okay, so this department had $2,000 and they spent $1,500. What do you say we give them $3,000? Well, if you didn't use last year's budget, maybe they shouldn't get an increase on this year's budget. So it's that type of no accountability, that willy-nilly sort of approach to budgeting and expenditures that ultimately causes you to choke to death.
It's a good point, and I do think the finance committee was trying to do the best they could with what they had to work with. That said, we don't have a budget, we don't have a finance committee now. We are trying to figure out how to ramp this thing back up. We hope that when we get into a new finance management company, the data will be much cleaner than what the old finance committee had to work with. But some of maybe not everybody knows. I still do consulting for universities across the country. I actually teach leaders budget training steps for leaders at huge universities, and they're managing $60, $70 million budgets. And so I actually go around and mentor them on how to develop a budget. So regardless of what role I'm in next month, I'm still going to make myself available to help the finance committee know how best practices work in budgeting. They still do their own thing, but we do want to help them. So thank you for that idea.
I have a couple of things off of the YouTube.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the ideas is from, is for a pool pass, for everyone to have a pool pass, like a yearly pool pass, monetary, you know, we're not talking $50, $100, just a monetary pool pass. And to somehow start charging clubs a very minimal fee, because we are covering the electric and the water for the clubhouse.
Fair enough, we'll write that down. Rich?
We do right now for the pool, excuse me, put it in the mic, thank you. You have somebody coming to the pool, your family, you have a card. You punch the card, we pay for that. Every resident pays for the card. So simple. They come in, punch the card, thank you very much. For guests. You as an individual.
Unfortunately, that hasn't been done recently.
Well, you have to have your pass, you gotta have everybody come in.
There's oftentimes nobody at the pool. I'm hearing this constantly.
Well,
There's nobody at the pool.
I understand that, that's okay. But you have to look at the reality of it. We need somebody there, but we gotta cut, we're gonna cut. And one more thing, speeders, right? What about stop signs?
Yeah.
8 years ago, no, excuse me, 12 years ago, I asked, with about 5 of us from the men's club, to go to the sheriff's department and be schooled and licensed. Schooled and licensed for security. When they come to a stop sign and they went through it, we could take a picture of it. Okay? Golf cart, car. I was told by the president, I'm a vigilante, that we blow how much money? How much money? One stop sign. We should change the stop sign to term whoa. Like when you ride your horse, whoa. They don't do that. They go right through. So somebody's going to get hurt eventually, and we're going to pay for it.
Those are, thank you for that recommendation. That's part of the things we're working with the ACC.
ACC, right?
CDC on trying to come up with traffic calming solutions, which include cameras, radar guns that are stationary and not in somebody's hand in a truck. So it'd be there 24/7. So we're looking at those solutions. We're also looking at putting speed bumps in along the way to help slow people down. But clearly we know that what we got ain't working, right? Any other ideas on how to save some money or find money? Yes, go ahead. There's a microphone coming your way.
Would probably denote the revenue that would be generated for it. So I don't know if we got a quote on the insurance yet, but.
We met with the insurance company 2 weeks ago and they're working on that.
Yes, but I'm just saying, I think it will denote the savings or denote any revenue that would be created from the RV park. I do agree with this gentleman wholeheartedly on the sale of the homes, the new people moving in. And if we just would go with that, that would solve our problem financially.
Some of the problems. We gotta get to $250,000.
We're looking for 30 grand a year. That's more than 30 grand a year, right?
No, we're looking for 300,000. We need at least 250,000 to sort of get to where we can stay at $50, because our burn rate's much higher.
Will this gentleman's suggestion cover that?
It'll help. It all chips away. That's why we're up to number 14. If all of these save a few pennies, will all those pennies add up? We'll let you know as we kind of sort through it.
I'm asking for the math, I guess. We know how many homes get sold, and we know the amount that we want to charge. Let's just charge enough to cover the deficit.
Yeah, we probably won't have people buy a house then. If we're trying to cover 250,000, divide that by.
They have to sell the house to get the money. And right now, do you know how many houses are selling here?
83.
That's right. I mean, it would be lovely if all the 83 homes sold and but that's not happening.
I don't think that a few $100s are going to make a difference in whether or not someone purchases here.
Yes.
Question about enforcement. And I got 45 years worth of enforcement.
I understand. There's a microphone coming out.
Has code enforcement ever been trained on how to do code enforcement? I mean, or do enforcement period? And I see them out there, they're sitting in the same spot all the time. Gee, I think I'll slow down because they're gonna be there. I mean, somebody needs to teach these people how to do code, how to do this kind of enforcement. stop sign. I mean, I volunteered my driveway one time.
Are you volunteering for this?
I mean, somebody's gotta teach these people how to do
Well,
stuff.
you would, I mean.
I volunteered to work laser before and they wouldn't let me, and I got training in it. I mean, I've been certified as a laser operator and radar for some years.
We accept your offer as a volunteer on this,
Yeah.
truly. We just had a conversation with Peter last week about how we need to change the leadership in code enforcement to do the right thing and not the wrong thing. So for example, I happen to know a resident that got a violation for, what was it on the letter? It was dirt, mold, and algae. You know anybody like that? Yeah, if you actually look at where they point to in our rules and regs, you go to rules and regs, it doesn't mention anything about dirt, mold, and algae. It says the house has to be maintained in good repair. Well, there's nothing wrong with your siding.
You saw it, it really wasn't true.
That's my point. So to your point about training, that's why I have Peter doing that effort, because right now, he was told that that's how he was trained to do code violations. But when you look at all the code violations we're handing out and charging people, you can't even point back to the documents and try to find out that code violation isn't even in any of that language. So why are you doing it? That's the way I've been trained to do it. Do you know that it was wrong? Well, yeah, I know it was wrong, but that's how I was trained to do it. Okay, well, we're surprised.
Because I know the sheriff's department would
It's on.
would more likely come in and do that, would show these people how to do enforcement. I mean, it's not, it's, I mean, like I say, I mean, they didn't throw me out the road when I was on the road and say, just go do it. I was trained on how to do certain things.
Well, that's a good recommendation. In fact, we just the other day talked to Arlene to see if she could set us up a meeting with Deputy Hart, I think is her name. She lives off of Weatherford. If you ever go down Weatherford, you often see a sheriff car there. So she's a resident. She works for the sheriff's department. And so we're asking to set up a meeting with her so that we can bounce a couple of ideas off of her to say, we struggle in this area. We got a resident getting a little crazy. How do we fix that? What recommendations do you have? How do we fix this? How do we fix that? How do you help us with code enforcement? So we'll bring it to the table when we get to that conversation. I love the idea. And we're trying to figure out how to correct that because we have a deficiency in how do we hand out code violations? Again, selective, not consistent, and they're erroneous.
And I won't mention who it was, but one person on the board, or you all.
Put the microphone.
1 mile over the speed
Put the
limit.
microphone up to your mouth. Sorry.
I mean, right at 1 mile over the speed limit, and a person in here that has a speedometer that accurate. Okay.
Well, I've been looking at them and I haven't seen one at 31. I'll go back and look again.
Well, I had somebody complain to me about it, and showed it to me.
I see a lot of 32s and 33s, but I haven't seen a 31
That's
yet in
still
6
too low,
months.
way too low. In fact, I even suggested when we had the speed limit here, there should be one speed limit in this area, in this whole park, and there wouldn't be any issue. Well, that's a little too
Yeah,
low,
I'd say.
but I mean, even the boulevard, I mentioned it should have been 25, and they said, oh, it's horrible, the poor people in the back would have to travel so
I gotta
long.
pack a lunch when I leave. I live on Admiral.
Yeah.
To get to the front gate, I pack
Hey,
a lunch,
I
I get my sandwiches, I get my chips, and then I take off and
I
eventually I
get
get to the gate.
25, it costs me, maybe a whole minute longer to get out of this place.
And
I'm
now I gotta
sorry.
pack lunch and dinner. Thank you, Al.
Yeah, but really, I mean, it's just a matter of, trying to be consistent with things, not having speed limit this here, this one there. this one.
Consistency is what keeps us out of court. Okay, any other recommendations for, yes, sir. We got a microphone coming.
Hi, Al.
It's on.
Hello,
Hello, you're working.
Al Du Bois, section 4 of this. Just a couple of questions I'd like to. Just a couple of questions I'd like to have answered. When they had the sale of the Toyota pickup truck,
We didn't sell a Toyota one. We sold the white Dodge Ram or whatever that was.
whatever it was,
Uh-huh.
okay, what year was that?
What year of a truck was it?
Yes.
I want to say, yeah, 2007.
Oh, 7, okay,
It was a big 8-cylinder engine. We didn't run it. It was all dented and banged up. And
okay, I was under the, understanding that it was a Toyota truck.
No, we have 2 Toyota pickup trucks that were purchased for code enforcement.
Okay,
Why that was a good idea, I don't know, but as it is, we took one of them away from code enforcement. We've taken the code enforcement sticker off of it. It is now parked in the back of the admin building, and it is a shared vehicle for any of the staff in our department. So for example, if Jamie has to go somewhere, I don't want you using your personal vehicle. Go down to the admin office, we have a key log, they sign out the key, they jump in the truck, they drive around, and they come back. When our folks have to run to the banks and make deposits, I don't want them using their personal vehicles for that. So now those folks, maybe we can get rid of cash here soon. But, we drive to the bank and make deposits. Don't do it in your personal vehicle, because if you get, hit, that's not appropriate.
I just wanted to clear it up. I mean, you hear all kinds of things.
Well, I know, I'm here to tell you that's
This
what
is
we
one
do.
of, I didn't even know you had a white truck. One other thing, the guy check, how's that going? That was supposed to be done like the end of January.
Well, that's just a gift that keeps on giving. So
Yeah,
they had to wait for, a couple things. They had to wait for permits to come through. Anybody has done some work on their homes, I'm not talking about, the B permit here. So we had permitting, a little bit of a permit delay. We put in, I think I've mentioned, we are putting in double insulated pane windows to get rid of the single glass windows. That was on a backlog. They just came in. So we're trying to, we're not sitting back just kind of, getting bored and see if we can watch daisies grow. We're trying to move it along. I mean, I got Jimmy down there. I go down there, Catherine's been down there. We're trying to move them along without harassing, because to some degree, I'd rather have it done well versus fast. But we are encouraging to kind of keep it moving. I was down there the other day, and one of the folks that works in the gatehouse was inside the building, and I was meeting with the contractor, and Catherine was there. We were just checking in on a couple things like, paint, what are we gonna, anyway. So I was in there, and we had that, we put in a drive-through window like you see at Starbucks and other places, right? And we put that in, so we don't want our staff to have to go outside and stand in the heat and the cold and the rain. We want them to stay inside. So I was inside, and then the young lady that was working at the gatehouse that day said, well, I don't know why you guys are putting that in there, because we're still gonna go out and stand outside and sit down. And I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. So first of all, you may not know, but someone called OSHA and reported a violation because our poor staff have to stand outside. And yet that same staff, not that person, but I got staff saying, well, we're not gonna stand inside the building anyway. We just wanna sit outside. Oh, seriously. So now I got a code, we have an OSHA thing we're trying to manage. And the OSHA thing was about, poor staff and working conditions. So we are trying to get it there so we can get our staff inside, not stand outside. It's safer. And then we're probably going to talk about, do you really have to have, do you have to have 2 people in that guardhouse every day for every shift? I don't think so. Now that we have it sort of insulated, secured, we'll give them a panic button that goes to the sheriff's department. But do you have to have 2 people there? I mean, we have to figure out what that looks like and how that works. But, the first thing is, yes, I hear you. Where are we? We're getting close. They picked up some paint from here yesterday so they can start painting, and they're trying to wrap up and clean up. But man, talk about a gift that just, got dropped in our lap. We're trying to clean it up. You bet.
Dave.
Yes.
Are we keeping the maintenance employees that were under Vince? Are they gonna still be working for us?
Thank you for that question. I think I had mentioned earlier that we have 3 employees, 2 full-time and a part-time. And so the part-time employee was hired in September. So we have 2 full-time and 1 part-time. And as I think I mentioned a little bit ago, we are developing a checklist for the kitchen. And those 3 people are going to remain employed at this point in time. And, we're trying to also ascertain, like, what are they working on? How do we, make sure that they're being directed and managed and, sort of led? So that's why we have them reporting to Jamie, so that we can make sure we have good leadership in managing those employees. So even though we're looking at trying to get a potential lawn mowing contract, do we need all 3? I don't know. Do we need 2? When we talked to them, they basically said, from whenever the grass gets out of control to whenever it stops growing, all they do is cut grass. They're not fixing anything, because they're just spending all that time on the mower.
What about the kitchen? Why, if we're supposed to save money, why are we going for an outside firm to clean the kitchen?
That's a great question. Let me explain why.
Here is how to properly clean a commercial kitchen, okay?
Right.
And there's no reason why our people can't get the chemicals at Home Depot, Ecolab chemicals, and do the cleaning, pull out the wood cabinets that
It's
are
too much time, it's gonna be time consuming. They've got setups and everything to do, they can't devote.
If they have a supervisor to watch over them, they follow directions on how to do the cleaning, there's no problem. The only thing they cannot clean is a hood. So you're gonna spend thousands of dollars having a company come out here, and it's still not gonna be right because you have wooden cabinets that do not belong in that kitchen anymore.
So I appreciate the insight, Richard. And as you know, because you're a board member, I sent out an email this morning with the quotes. And the quote we are looking at is about $1,200 to clean the kitchen, and it's by a kitchen commercial cleaning entity. Yes, I agree, you can pull it off the website, but who here can interpret that and make sure they follow the guidelines? There's nobody here that's certified or has any training in cleaning
So
commercial
Jamie,
kitchens.
our new manager here of the clubhouse, that's basically taking from what Catherine Lane said, taking Vince's place in here that can't watch over these people. Who are they reporting to?
Where were you a few minutes ago when I just mentioned to everybody what we were doing? Those three people report to Jamie. Did you not hear that conversation?
Okay,
So they all report to Jamie. So I'm here to help provide some mentoring of Jamie on how to manage a commercial kitchen and how to clean that kitchen. And so, as I said, I don't know if you were listening, I'm going to come up with a checklist based on my 40 plus years in the hospitality industry. In fact, you and I talked about how I'm going to get involved in trying to make sure this kitchen is clean so we can maintain this kitchen. Now back to wooden cabinets. There's no law that says you can't have a wooden cabinet. However, every surface in a kitchen has to be cleanable. So we have a rusted door in the back. You can't clean it. Why do we have a rusted door in the kitchen that allows vermin in? I don't know. But wooden cabinets is a thing for us to look at, but we have to then come up with another investment to fix things
And next to the
replace
breaker
things.
box is a whole piece of drywall missing, exposed.
Yes, we understand that.
All that. And then we have a washing station that's never used, that's used for washing racks of stuff, and nobody knows how to use it. So why do we even have it there?
That's a great question, and you know, we can see if we want to spend money taking it out. But we have a member on staff who actually is a trained dishwasher in the hospitality industry and public works. And he used that dish machine yesterday to clean all the small pieces and parts in that kitchen. Now we have a fryer in the
And I'm
kitchen.
also disappointed on telling people that they should sue us too.
They should sue us if we're doing things and we're picking on residents and doing the wrong thing. We should let them know.
Yeah, that's right.
How often that kitchen is.
They use it for the big old functions. They use it for.
What do they do? What do they serve?
Sandwiches or pizza.
Okay, so suppose they didn't do that. Suppose they brought.
And you're cutting down-
Lose revenue.
You cut down.
Who's losing revenue?
The bingo people.
The bingo people are losing revenue.
Basically, all the bingo people pay.
Yeah, we get some money off of bingo.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, but is it cost efficient is what I'm trying to get to.
That's a great question. I can't answer that question, but we are looking into a lot of things, you know. So I'll see if I can answer that question another day for you. So,
Jerry
Jerry?
Kraft, you know what? Okay, I just want to say, in my personal opinion, I think it's a great idea that this kitchen is being cleaned professionally once and for all. Maybe then we can talk about having the staff do it, but if somebody called OSHA, we can't take any chances on somebody calling about the kitchen. So I think it's the right thing to do to have it done professionally. It should have been done last year, and people had to work together instead of trying to pick people apart. If it's gonna be cleaned professionally, let it be cleaned and then discuss maybe different solutions.
Well, I
What do you
actually, yes, I appreciate it. It wouldn't be OSHA, I hear you. It would actually be the state under the license that we have hanging in the kitchen. I actually called the state and self-confessed that we are dealing with a rat infestation, and we've closed the kitchen until we can get it, you know, professionally cleaned and back in running order. And they were so thankful we called because we don't need them coming and shutting us down. That never works well, I assure you. So are we gonna spend maybe $1,000 to get it commercially cleaned? That's my recommendation. So we can start from ground zero and then take it from there. Yes?
It's just a suggestion. Previous to living here, I lived in a Pennsylvania community for 20 years. I worked in the office just as long about. We had ways that we would raise money from. One of the things was a family pass, it would be called. Your immediate family. If you wanted them to have access, we had gate cards, we didn't have barcodes. So if you wanted a member of your family, say they live nearby, or you just want them to have access to come in without having to go through the visitors. In our case, they used to have to come into the office and I would have to see all their ID. They used to charge for that. It would be renewed every year, an annual kind of thing. We also had contractor passes that would be renewed contractor passes were 6 months. And they'd have to come in and show me their proof of insurance, their registration, driver's license and such. So that you could, and they went according to, I would set it up in the computer according to the times of contractors, whatever time they were allowed in, 7 to 7 or whatever was suggested. But it was a way to raise money and maybe something in here could be.
We'll add it to the list. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello?
I think it's on.
You have a beautiful ice machine in there. I used to be a business owner. Why don't you?
Move it up to your mouth, please.
You have a beautiful ice machine in there. Utilize that. Sell ice out of that thing. A lot of these people are fishermen or party people. Get an ice machine. Sell them bags of ice for $1.
$5.
No, that's not rate us.
No, I like the idea. We used
You're
to.
not utilizing that ice machine. The ice machine in there, sell bags of ice. You know how much ice you would sell and how much money that ice machine can make for you?
Yeah.
You're not utilizing that machine. You're gonna wreck the
They
machine.
use it on Fridays and Tuesdays.
You're not utilizing that machine. You're not
Oh,
utilizing
I
that
like the
machine.
idea. We'll put it on a paper and
That
evaluate
machine
it.
is not being used. We can make some money out of it. You know, clean that kitchen out of that money you can make out of that.
Yeah, we just had to dump and throw all that ice out because it potentially was contaminated. So it does make a lot of ice.
Tuesdays, we use it for bingo, and they clean it, but you're not using it. You know how much money we can make out of that?
I appreciate that. We're gonna write it down and look at it.
Fill the bag.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, my name is Susan Schaefer, Unit 3. That kitchen is used all the time. Any resident just goes in there and does what they want. They go in there and they get ice. If they're just playing poker, one person will walk in with their cup and get ice. It's very hard for the staff to keep track of this.
Well,
It should be locked, they should have to come to us, and we should be able to open it for them. There's a utensil to get the ice, some people don't use it. So we can't be all over the place, especially when you have a lot of functions going on around here. Our responsibility was to mop the floor and take the garbage out, and then we do the stainless steel. But there's been so many things going on around here that we don't even have time to flip one room and then we're back into another room. So there's too much overbooking in this place. That's the problem. That's all.
I do appreciate the recommendation. We have shared with Jamie and others that we do need to think differently about how we manage that kitchen. And locked is probably going to be a starting point we start from. Not to say you can't use the kitchen, but we need to know who goes in and what they're doing and why they're in there, because that in itself is a food safety violation to take a cup that you're drinking out, scoop ice and go back out. Those are ways to get shut down. So, thank you. Yes, good morning. It's on.
My name is Linda Casal. I'm kind of a newbie here.
Right up to your mouth.
Linda Casal, Unit 2, excuse me. I'm a newbie. I moved here in August. And so I see things probably from a little different way than some of these people that have been here for a while. But the one thing that really is sticking in my craw is I wanted to go to breakfast or lunch with a couple of my friends, and I realized there is nothing in this little village of ours. I thought possibly the golf course, but unless I am a member, I'm not allowed to eat there. And we have this lovely kitchen. And my thinking was possibly, I don't know how it works, your hospitality background, find somebody that would lease it from us and serve breakfast and lunch, just light meals.
Yeah, those are good ideas. There's a lot of HOAs in Florida that have their own little restaurants and hot dog grills and things. What I find typically is they don't make money, and then we end up subsidizing. So, is there enough traffic every day? I've had a couple folks find me and say, can't you have a vendor out there cooking hot dogs next to the pool? And how cool would that be? And we buy lots of hot dogs, but, the reality is, even when the food truck comes in, when they come in from time to time, there's not a lot of activity. So I'm not trying to say that's not a good idea. Certainly, we can look at it. But if we bring a vendor in, or, tenant, they're gonna look for certain expectations. And if they don't make those expectations, they're not gonna lose money and pretty soon they'll pack up and leave. So we'd have to figure out how much activity and volume potential there really is for that. I think it's an interesting idea, but.
Maybe we could just get a Starbucks back in the,
What's that?
we could get Starbucks, we could rent land to a Starbucks back there, where we have recreation vehicles and we have all that open space.
Yeah, I was thinking this morning, we got open spaces in the RV lot, let those people that don't live here, and we'll charge them $400 a month to park. And it's still cheaper than any place else, but that probably won't go over well.
Okay, I have another couple things from YouTube watchers. Anthony Langone says, charge $50 a year for resident pool pass.
Come on, folks, no ideas are bad ideas. They may not be popular ideas. I don't know.
They're recommending maybe do the same for the tennis courts, for the shuffleboard, for bocce, that kind of thing. Somebody else has suggested that.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, sir.
Arlene, who's in the office, what is her job write-up?
What is her job write-up?
Yes.
You mean her job description?
Yes.
I don't have it memorized, but she is our general manager, our CAM. It's called a community association manager. So she's the highest leadership in this community. So Public Works events have been reporting to her. Peter reports to her. Jamie reports to her. So now.
Okay, so she's the overseeing manager.
She's the highest level position in our community.
Does she ever get out of that office and check up on these managers?
Well, that's an interesting topic. She hadn't been, but you're going to see her out and about far more frequently.
I mean, if she's a manager, she could have caught a lot of issues that's been going wrong.
Clearly.
Okay, and number two.
Well, to that point, just so you know, I have a standing, although I can't do it today, but I have a standing weekly meeting with Arlene. I put together my agenda topics that I'm going to discuss with her on that particular day. I email them to her, so I have a tracking of information. And what I do is I open up a Word document that has everything I've talked to her about for months. And every week we have a new topic, and then we review all past topics that aren't sort of completed. And those topics, that particular topic of getting out and about has surfaced quite a bit lately as we've discovered some deficiencies, and that she knows that she needs to get out and about. And we're going to come up with some regularity for her that she has to sort of commit to go over to the maintenance building, to come up to the clubhouse, to, watch what code enforcement, and watch what's happening at the gatehouse, what's happening around here, walk the grounds. If you walk the grounds today after this meeting, just walk around the building, and you'll see there's a lot of things that don't need to happen that way. We can clean that up, but other people have to kind of get their eyes on it. And so we are talking to her about that, and it's being blogged and written. So
Okay.
Thank you for that.
And the second question is, who cleans the bathrooms here?
I don't, it's our staff, but I don't know if it's Tom, Dick, or Harry. I don't know who they are, but our staff cleans the bathrooms.
So if the staff cleans the bathrooms, why can't they clean the kitchen? Why would you bring somebody who works outside in the grass, cuttings and all that? That's a male, come on, let's get a female. Not this, of course.
Well, I appreciate
I
your.
mean, I was in hospitality and, housekeepers had to do the bathrooms, cleaning the bedrooms, the foyer, the lobby. They had to do a lot.
Well, I guess, I guess I would say a couple things. One, this staff wasn't trained to clean the kitchen. Now granted, could they? Hang on. Are they properly trained to do the bathrooms? I have no idea.
Probably.
Looking into it, we're looking into sort of all those standards and expectations. I think it's also interesting when you look at the inventory of our staff, especially in Public Works. We have a guy in Public Works who came from Walmart after 10 years of doing theft prevention work. He's also very tech savvy, loves technology. And so, you know, is he the best guy to sit on a mower and just sort of mindlessly cut grass? So we're trying, I guess my point is, we're trying to do an inventory of our staff. Do we have the right staff in the right positions? Are they capable? I mean, if
That's
I
what
told
the
you.
manager should be doing.
Well, that's why
Think
some
about it.
managers aren't here, and so we're dealing with that. Just know, we're dealing with it. Happy to show you any agenda topic I've been meeting with Arlene to talk about. If you want to see what the conversations look like, happy to share. The other thing is, you know, we have some staff members, no names, we pay them to fill out crossword puzzles all day long. How's that feel? So that's a surprise to me and others that we are paying people not to do work. And when we just recently shook hands and parted ways with our Public Works individual, his statement was, I refuse to fire residents. Well, that's great, but you're not holding them accountable and they're working and they're doing nothing and that seems right. So we are doing an assessment of every employee. Are they in the right position? Are they trained? What should they be doing? Should they even be here? So we're trying to look at all of that. Like I said, I have one guy in Public Works, he's worked in dish rooms and kitchens most of his career. So I had him come in and fire up the dish machine and we helped clean all those utensils to get all that out of here because we have that cleaning company coming in. We've got to get all that small stuff out of the way so that when they come in, they can actually clean it from top to bottom, left to right. But the guy's trained. So can we, utilize his skill and ability to help us put together that checklist? Absolutely. Do we even need to have a commercial dishwasher? I don't know. I've heard it hasn't been used in a long time. There was a fryer in that kitchen. I've been asking around, is anybody using that fryer? Do you know how dangerous a fryer is? If we, the residents who are not trained to operate fryers, torch the burn building down in no time. So we disconnected it, took it out.
So the health department never comes in here and checks you guys out?
Well, that's another great question. So when I called the health department the other day, they talked about the rats. They said, well, the health department that you've talked to isn't the jurisdiction where you have your license. Okay, great. So I had to go back to the other folks and I've got to call them to them. They did 2 inspections in 22. I think they did 1 in 23 and nothing in 24. Seriously? In my world outside of Florida, you're inspected at least 2 to 3 times a year. And there's also violations in that kitchen because nobody knows what those violations or requirements are. But we're operating a kitchen that's in violation. So we're trying to fix that.
I know how to get them out here all the time. The residents just calls.
I mean, you're welcome to call, and I don't have a problem. We're going to get it clean, and you can call them out any day of the week. We're going to be clean, safe, and legal. But we have to fix the violations that exist in that kitchen at the moment, and then we have to further assess. Like I said, I took out the fryer. We reached out to the men's club. They're not using it. I don't know about bingo.
And
but I
the
took
general
fryer.
manager is going to be part of this with you, right? You're not going to do it as a board only. You're going to have the general manager involved.
Absolutely. You have to, I know you don't have the visibility to our email, but she is involved in all those conversations because she's responsible for this building and this community. Yes, young lady in the back.
Hi, Janice Quinn, Unit 4.
Can you put it a little closer to your mouth? It's working.
Janice Quinn, Unit 4. You guys are talking about getting rid of dishwashers, selling ice. And a kitchen needs all those things, and they need to be cleaned. But do we charge a service fee to bingo, that if the kitchen isn't clean, we keep their deposit? That's a standard agreement with just about anybody who goes into any kitchen, anywhere in the United States. You can use their
Agreed,
kitchen.
but that's not in our documents that I've been able to find, that everybody pays a kitchen fee. But once we get it clean and we put staff associated to it to clean it every day, we're gonna have to think differently about how do people use the kitchen and when. And there's really no good defined SOPs on how you clean it and get out.
Well, first of all, nobody in this facility is going to do the the vents, that needs to be cleaned once a year, and it's an annual maintenance thing that needs to be done in any kitchen, and if it's a busy kitchen, it's more than once a year.
We don't have a record of when those hoods all the way out to the mushroom fan on the roof has been done. We have no idea. And so as a part of bringing this company in, they're gonna clean the hoods all the way out to the mushroom fan, because we don't have anybody qualified, no matter what the document says that Richard has, to clean those vents. We have to pay somebody to clean those vents. Now, what you're cleaning is what's called grease-laden vapors. That's the industry term. So we don't really, like, taking that fryer out, there was no grease in the fryer.
It
So-
doesn't matter whether it's
Actually,
been used or not
I
been
hear
used.
you. Believe me, that's my world that I come from.
It
So
doesn't
we're gonna
matter.
start by getting it clean so we can talk about what's the frequency thereafter. But it also goes back to how often is the kitchen being used. And when there's not grease-laden vapors, then there's a decision tree about, okay, so this is how you clean the hood systems on a regular basis. After every event, they should take the filters out, run through the dish machine, dry them out, put them back in. We don't have those SOPs written today, but we're working on it. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make people aware that
call
Friday night bingo contributes monthly
We
to
understand.
Brookridge, which is, a lot of people aren't aware of that. Many of the other clubs don't. I mean, they give whatever they would like to donate to on certain occasions, but many give nothing. And Friday night has been always contributing.
Thank you.
There, it depends. They, right now, they had a set amount, but then sometimes they gave even more.
Well, give me a
They raised
ballpark
more.
idea.
Excuse
Give
me?
me a ballpark idea.
1,700.
A month.
That's now. They, and when they had more people, they gave even more.
Okay.
Rich, and then we'll come over to you.
Make it real simple. I'm back here right now. Jerry, these stairs right here, where'd they come from? Anybody know?
Men's club, dance club.
These came from entertainment,
Oh, yeah.
about 2011. Okay? We all know that, right? 2000 chairs there. Are they pleased all the time? Thank you very much. Recently, the Soto gets picked up $10,000 for chairs. You see that over there? 10 grand. So somebody sit down and be comfortable. Name of the game, make sure that people are comfortable for health and welfare.
Thank you, Rich. Jerry.
Yeah, mine's just a quick thing. I just want to ask you if we could please have somebody proofread these emails. There's been a few things going on.
Can you put your microphone?
The 55 plus thing, a lot of people threw them away, a lot of people didn't get them. Could somebody proofread this stuff to make sure that people understand?
We have asked repeatedly.
I
for
think it's
those to be
really
proofread.
important, and that worries me about, will we lose our status if people don't fill that out, or?
So you're bringing up a wonderful topic. Prior to the correction going out in email, there was no intent to send a correction because they didn't realize there was a mistake. So we are talking about proofreading anything we send out to the community, from news and views, to anything we're gonna mail, to any communication, Brookridge communication. We're trying to get other additional sets of eyes on things, because we just hit the send button and it goes. I understand. I had a resident call me saying, I've been here for 25 years, and why did I get this form that says I'm a new resident? And I was like, oh my God. So I wrote that down as a topic to talk to our CAM about. So we are trying to adjust those because we look silly and we waste time, and time is money every time we have to do a correction. And there is a lot of opportunities for corrections around here.
The unit reps came to help stuff envelopes, and that's the first thing we all noticed. I was in there too. That's the first thing we all noticed. We looked at it and we said, this says for new residents, nobody's gonna sign it.
David,
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
do we charge when we rent this place out, or do we charge rent for birthday parties, for anniversaries, for weddings?
So actually in our SOPs, I think that's where I saw it. Residents can use this for their own personal events. There is a rate sheet there, and I haven't had a chance to get to that yet to find out, are we following that rate sheet? Is it applied consistently? Is it, sort of, free of charge?
Right.
So we're trying to chase that one down. I just haven't gotten to that one on the list.
Okay, another thing, news and views.
Mhm.
Most people
glance at it, it's the same thing every month. A lot of times there's errors in it, then they toss it. That's a big expense. Couldn't we just post it somewhere as,
It's online.
standard calendar, right, standard calendar, everything, because that's a big expense we have.
It is, and it does pay for itself, so that's a good thing. That is under Jamie's charge to help us get our arms wrapped around how this could be, should be, might want to be thought about similarly, but, better, different. So we put that in her charge to sort of look at. The other thing also is that there's been some handshake, wink, wink deals that we're trying to also clean up. So the Golf Course Association has ads in here, and for whatever reason, there's a handshake deal that they don't pay. There's somebody that operates a hair salon in here, that person doesn't pay. I just found out the other day that we, Brookridge, are cutting all of their overflow ponds, I don't know what that word is, but what's that? Thank you. The retention ponds on the golf course, we're cutting them at our own expense because I'm hearing that there was a handshake, wink, wink deal. And so I've asked to have a meeting with the president of the Golf Association to say, why are we cutting your grass? And my reasoning that I was told was because when it rains, our water goes in their retention ponds, so that's our fault. And I'm like, well, you need to take it up with Mother Nature. I mean, maybe she can selectively drop where she drops and where she doesn't, but we need to look at that. The other thing too is there was another handshake, wink, wink deal here that the Golf Association, when they had their annual events in here, there was no charge. And so we're trying to clean all that up to say, look, we the residents shouldn't be funding a place I can't even walk into and get a beer unless I'm a member. But yet we're cutting their grass, we're doing this, we're doing that. So we're trying to kind of get rid of all those little handshake, wink, wink deals to say, look, you can't, that doesn't make sense. And I'm sorry, we won't continue that. So we're going to work on that. Huh? Oh, shit. Brookridge is a gift that just keeps on giving. And we're trying to clean up a lot of the prior, things that were given to us, like employment contracts. Seriously? Huh? Oh, no, I think I'm done next month. You guys can find another president. I've done my 7 months. Let somebody else come in and do it. Well, we'll see. What's that? Well, this is an interesting community and an interesting board, so I'll leave it at that. Okay, any other cost-saving, revenue-generating ideas? I love the conversation. Keep it going. There's something else we can maybe do. Think about it. I'm going to draft this up and put it in your hands and say, well, those are all great questions. A couple things, not to try to sound sour, but we're just volunteers, so we're trying to chip away as fast as we can. But we've been getting a lot of things done lately. Some of it's visible, some of it's not visible, but we've been diligently chipping away, and we're going to add this to the chip away list. Now, some of the suggestions that came up today, we're already working on, so we're moving right along. And so maybe the list just got a little bit smaller. We'll have to look at some things that require or that can be done on a board vote versus member vote. If it's a member vote, then it's probably going to take a little longer to kind of get there. But we're looking at it because we've got to get down to $50. And that's why we're trying to come up with these suggestions. What's that? I like it. I was talking to our attorney about this conversation yesterday. And he was like, maybe you cut the hours back an hour a day, or, maybe we, try to find some wage savings there. We've got. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We've got 2 people on salary in that building. That wasn't me. That was somebody else that signed employment contracts. So we're dealing with that. We're trying to clean that up. Those contracts no longer exist, but they've committed to yearly contracts. Here's another one. Are you ready for this one? In their employment contracts, we have to give them $100 a month for use of their personal cell phone. Now, how many people in here spend more than $100 a month on their cell phone? Anybody? Anybody spend more than 100? So we have to pay them $100 a month for their cell phone, even though their building coming at 50. They're making money on us. Well, who do you think signed it? So we're still trying to clean up that mess. So this place is the gift that just keeps on giving around here, folks. Go ahead.
So my question is, and I know people are thinking it, but I'm just gonna say it. Would it be more beneficial to just get a management company in to take over everything? Would it be least expensive? It's just a question.
I believe it's an absolute necessity. We cannot manage this place. If you just look at history, first of all, this is a huge HOA, and I've said this before. And believe me, I've had the ability to peel back the layers of the onion, and it ain't pretty. But we're self-op. There's very few self-op HOAs out there that have 2,800 lots. It doesn't exist. We should be proud of ourselves. We got this far, but there's also been a documented history of failure after bad decision after failure after bad decision. You know, just in 2024, how many presidents did we go through? One signed a spectrum contract without any board approval. That person also signed an employment contract without any board approval. And then we had 2 more employment contracts signed without board approval. We can't do this very well, folks.
So my other question is, if that, and I'm not advocating for that,
I am.
if that, well, I'm not against it, but if that happened, where would we get the money to pay for it? And would they take over all of our staff, part of our staff? I'm just curious, because it's out there, people are asking,
So
no one wants to talk about it.
let me help you understand how that works. First of all, contracts can be written towards our advantage. We can have a large say in how that works. Meaning, we're looking at taking our payroll to process paychecks out of QuickBooks and out of this community. We're talking to a company called Paycor. So Access Management Group, which is the finance company that we really like a lot momentarily, they use Paycor to process their paychecks at all their HOAs. And so they were going to charge us a fee on top of the fee for Paycor to do this, right? And so we said, well, thanks, but if I go direct to Paycor and have a contract with them, you guys are already integrated with Paycor, so you can pull all of our financials out of that. And so we're looking at hiring Paycor, which is about, I think we looked at it, it was like $300 a month for them to process all of our paychecks, time clocks, making sure payroll is accurate and not relying on QuickBooks to do that anymore. So we could keep that contract separate. You know, Republic Trash called me the other day, and I'm like, oh my God, we heard you might go HOA, and does that mean we're gonna lose a contract? Absolutely not. So we can write that contract. Now, whether the contract company wants to work with us or not, based on how we write it, we can control primarily the dialogue as to how we write that contract. We can say, for example, we keep Public Direct, we keep Paycor Direct, so just in case there's ever a need to shake hands, part ways with a HOA company, we still have our payroll processing sort of tool in place. Your question about, do they take our staff, all of them, some of them, none of them? Yes. Primarily, traditionally, all of our staff then becomes their staff. Now, that's a swap of money. So it's not like we're paying twice. They would be paying them and we'd be paying them. So you could do it that way. We could say, Jamie, Clubhouse, Public Works stays on our payroll, and admin, where, you know, some of the bigger decisions for this community have to be managed, is on your payroll. We can sort of create that contract how we want to, and then give it to them and say, tell us your fee. How do you pay for it? Well, you can't pay for it very well at 50, but right now we just had this long conversation. We're not at 50 as much as we think we're at 50. We ain't nowhere near it. So the reality is, we're trying to figure out how do we come up with a number that this place needs for the way it operates today. And then when we bring in a contract management company, I can tell you some benefits of having a contract management company. They come with a lot of contracts that save us money that we don't save today. For example, just a couple ideas. We paid to have our roads paved last year. So we're an independent entity that went out to a company to get them to come in to give us a quote on paving. These contract management companies have contracts in place with paving companies, over 400 communities. Their rate is far cheaper than our rates because we're just a one community place. So we have that ability to tag team in their contracts. So for example, you know, we are getting a quote to have a third party company manage our pool because we struggle to make sure our pool is managed appropriately. I can tell you some things will make your skin crawl. It's kind of like the rats. So anyways, we have to kind of figure all that out. And will that raise our rates over 50? Yep. But we're not at 50 today as much as we think we want to be at 50. Go ahead, ask a question. Who has a microphone? Sorry, we'll give it back to you. We promise.
Don't take this the wrong way, because it's
That's
not
right.
meant, but what is the benefit of getting a management company? We have the same staff everywhere, and we have the same people. How can that benefit us?
Well, maybe, let me answer that question. Just because we tell them that you can have that staff, they're still gonna interview them and make sure that those folks are the right staff for their company to manage our HOA. That's how that typically transitions. They interview them, there's no, well, again, you can write it into the contract that you have to take every one of them. I wouldn't do that because you handcuff them. So what they do is they would come in, they'd interview all the staff and offer them positions or not. But at the end of the day, we're gonna pick up the phone and call the owner of the HOA management company and go, what's up with our CAM? Well, he's gonna say, well, that was your CAM, I just took that person over. I know, but that's not my problem today, that's your problem. So that can be crafted. See how I did that?
Yeah, I'm listening.
That can be crafted to work in our favor for the way we want it written.
Can it be a 1-year contract instead of 3 years?
So I wouldn't recommend that. The answer is yes, it could be a 1-year contract, but it takes some momentum for a company to get here and to get their sort of their feet on the ground, moving and running. So we can get rid of them with a 60-day notice, but I wouldn't do a 1-year contract because then they're not going to put so much energy into it if they know you can just sort of flip the coin and they're
But
out.
signing a 3-year contract, where we could be stuck.
60-day out clause.
But these contracts, the other thing, can we stop and make sure we never have these contracts signed the way they were before again?
Which contracts?
The ones that were signed, that we're stuck in.
Which ones? Like the
Will the
employment
employee
contracts?
contract be null and void if we get a management company?
Well, again, you'd like to think you have good people in the right places doing the right things. And if they're not doing the right things, they shouldn't be in position. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you.
Let's get this gentleman back and I'll come up and.
David, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Do you know how much we spend per month for the streetlights in Brookridge?
I don't know. Do you have that number?
Over $7,000 a month, okay?
Okay.
Now, I don't know when the contract's up, but I'd like to look into when the contract's up because I think we should be able to put solar lighting in at whatever expense it would be to us, then we wouldn't have that $7,000 a month to pay.
We'll write that down, Richard. That's a good one. I haven't seen a contract for our lights.
And I think putting some solar for the clubhouse, some solar for the admin building, that would save us hundreds of thousands of dollars per year on our electricity.
That's a good point. I haven't seen a contract for our electricity because it's not on our website. And theoretically, if it's not on our website, we don't have a contract.
I got a question.
But if we did have a contract, we could consider alternatives. Absolutely.
Did
Yes, sir.
anybody talk to with Akuchi? I manage a building down the street, 1,100 people, and I got a facility management degree. I've also got an engineering degree. Facility management is the girl that's took over from Vince, and she got a facility management degree.
So let's just be clear for a minute. I appreciate it. So I heard two things. One is, did we talk to Kuchi, whoever they are?
With Kuchi, I pay nothing for lights. When a light is burned out, I call them, they fix it.
I will look into that. I appreciate that. The second one is.
$7,000 is crazy.
Yeah, I'm just learning of it right now. Now, to your second point, Jamie, just so we're all clear, when Vince departed last Monday, we had to have those people go to somebody, so they're not just sitting out in the maintenance building smoking cigarettes. So we asked her, because of what's going on with the kitchen, and as I had several conversations here with you folks today. Some of those folks are qualified to help us work in the kitchen. So somebody needed to manage them. And we are trying to decide, do we need to go back out and backfill that position? But in the meantime, somebody needs to manage them, right? And so we went to Jamie and said, Jamie, since they're kind of involved in the kitchen and the checklist and coming over it up, would you mind helping to oversee those three? Because we got to have somebody lead them. And so that's why that's there. Is that a long-term solution? I don't know. Is she qualified for facility maintenance? You know, I can almost ask that of a prior person in that
It
position.
sounds like she's not, because the kitchen is one. And while we're on the subject of the kitchen, do you realize that the hood is a separate responsibility? That's a management company that comes in and cleans it?
So, hang on.
You can't clean it because the health department won't take your cleaning.
So first of all, we have no intentions of managing that in-house. You have a separate agreement with a company to come in and clean those hoods. I absolutely understand that. I've been dealing with that for the last 40 years of my career. So I understand how that works and what's required. That's why I was talking earlier about the grease-laden vapors. You take the fryer out, you can extend how long you have to clean that hood. There's no guidelines in Florida under this particular license, whether it's cleaned every 30 days, every 60 days. Typically, you set that up and you clean it based on the cleanliness and use that hood gets. So for example, in the university where I worked, we had, I don't know how many commercial kitchens on property. We were serving 20,000 meals a day. We cleaned those hoods every 3 months because of the pure use and abuse of grease-laden vapors going up there, serving 20,000 meals a day. That's a lot of grease. Here, we took out the fryer, so now we have hot air. So we have no idea when it was last cleaned and what it looks like. So we're looking at a contract or a quote for somebody to come in to clean it so we can sort of have a ground zero starting point. How dirty was it, considering who knows when it was last cleaned? But we are going to put it on a regular cleaning cycle because that's how that operates. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And while I'm on with the coochie thing, did we ever do management of these lights, of the facility management of these lights?
Well, that's a great topic. I'll add it to the list right behind.
Specifically if they're LEDs.
No, I did it. I don't know if these are halogens, maybe they are, but we can look at as Richard said, we should look at converting everything we have to LED, from street lights to inside of all these, lights. LED is great. You can put them on dimmers. You can control the light. You can control the color. LED is pretty inexpensive anymore. But have we managed that? It's on our list. If you'd like to volunteer some time to do that management for us, sign up.
I'm so busy right now. I took time out of my busy schedule to be here.
Well, thank you. So did we. And just for those that are always like, well, how long does this take? And how come this can't happen faster? Volunteer, folks. I'm happy to step aside and go manage the kitchen. But we understand.
I've got a couple of things. Is there anybody CPR certified or first aid certified in the kitchen?
I have no idea.
Why not? It should be.
I'll add it to my list. I'm not the CAM.
Put that on.
I'm the board president. I don't know about CPR licenses. I can tell you the kitchen
I'll
license
tell
is
you what,
expired.
you got 2,800 lots and about 5,000
You
people.
can add it to the list. Thank you.
And
I'll take
you
note
have
of
a
it.
kitchen that if somebody's choking, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
Well, that's called the Heimlich maneuver. That's not CPR. But
Well,
I hear what
that's
you're saying.
that's
We're evaluating
CPR.
all of that. But I appreciate that, but I can assure you, they probably aren't on staff.
Okay, I got a couple more. Seeing as we don't know about the lights, you're gonna check on with the coochie. Somebody's gonna check on with the coochie. You shouldn't be paying for electric for the lights.
Great.
Okay, and as far as Rich is concerned, put stoplights up or stop signs and put speed bumps. That'll slow it down.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier in this conversation
Okay,
today.
that's fine. I've got
We got about 10 minutes left, so
I'm done.
we'll let you wrap it up. We have a, yes, ma'am. Hit it.
How is any of this gonna work?
Is that turned on? You know, just put it up really close to your mouth.
How is any of this going to work if you quit? Not that I'm putting you in the spot.
Sure.
But we get lousy boards all the time.
Well, what's wrong with getting another lousy board?
We don't need another lousy board. We need someone that's gonna do something.
No.
No, he's not. Look at his face.
I think there's a variety of issues we have here that's more than just the past boards. Well, that's a large part of it. Accountability. We got to hold people accountable. They weren't being held accountable. So hopefully in the future, we, the residents, apply more courage in our expectations of boards. You know, typically at these board meetings, we have 1, 2, 3 people that want to consume the meeting and talk about all the other bullshit that isn't even on the agenda at that time, right? But we all sit here and let them do it. And at some point, we, us residents, including me, have to speak up and go, okay, can you just shut up and sit down? Seriously? Can we try to focus on the things that mean something versus asking like what happened to the white pickup truck? You can go down and put a request in writing and say what happened to the white pickup truck, but you need to bring it here to distract what we're trying to get accomplished. That's a problem. But we, the residents, don't speak up. We allow that to happen. When we had somebody signing employment contracts that had no authorization to do so, we should have spoken up and said, get the hell out. You have no right doing that. Well, I know. There's another problem. Transparency. Transparency is a strategy, I believe here, intentionally to hide stuff. How do we get to Spectrum? How do we get to all those contracts? That's not transparency. That's poor leadership. So anyways, I'm on my rant about this, but we the residents have to expect more. And when I'm in your shoes and not in these shoes, I'll expect more because I know where to look and chase them down and hold them accountable and I'll speak up. But I'm not going to waste your time talking about a white pickup truck. Well, that's another interesting topic. First of all, whoever, I know who it is. So the past president that put that deal together, put it in operating funds and not in reserves. So now there's a potential tax liability of about $300,000. And so we're still trying to wrangle through that. The contract was a horribly written contract. Do you know it says we have 25 free Wi-Fi accounts and 25 free video streaming contracts, and we can't use any of them? You know why? Because we're a business account. And so a business account, we pay Spectrum. Those free services are like free services, but now it's a free service that's less quality than what we have today. And then you're on the bottom of the list to be called when they break. And so it was a very disingenuous deal. In fact, I just met with Jane will tell you, we just met with the 2 gentlemen that brokered that deal for Brookridge. They got their $50,000 and drove off into the sunset. So they came back and they said, boy, we got another deal for you. And I'm like, you gotta be freaking nuts. I'm not talking to you. You guys got your money, we got screwed. And they were like, yeah, but we didn't know the president didn't do her gig. I don't give a shit. I still look at you and hold you accountable. You gave us 50 free disingenuous contracts I can't do anything with. They even sat there and said, well, we can take away your business contracts and give you the free ones, but you won't like it. You won't get service and it'll be half the speed. No shit, pack up and go home. So they didn't, yes, that's exactly why we need a management company, because the boards, the future boards, who knows, they could be the same or they could be worse. But the management companies, first of all, they have their reputation, they have their business reputation. They're going to run this place like a business. We run this like a campground. And we're not going to survive. I'm telling you. That's why I believe we need to have a management company. We're going to have to charge more. Absolutely. But this is what you get for $50 and we're not even spending $50 to run the place. Because the management company will help us they'll reduce our losses, and that's where I'm trying to find the money. So for example, in bookkeeping, we need like about $72,000 to $73,000 to do this contract for the management company to manage our finances. So we're probably gonna have to shake hands and part ways with a bookkeeper. That's $52.50, right? So that's some of it. But we're trying to find some other savings before we ink that deal so that we can try to come in and make it neutral, zero neutral, so it doesn't cost us money, but we're hoping that they can find our money where we make mistakes and do silly things and maybe help us with their connections in the industry for services like I mentioned before, so that in the long run, will it cost us $72,000? Yes, but I think we can find that $72,000 and then they can help us make more savings, so they're paying for themselves. But we have to make some changes, and I won't pick on the RV lot.
Dave, I'd like to say something about,
Go ahead, Richard.
about how frustrating it can be being a board member. Not that I'm working with any bad board members, okay? Not at all, okay? But the thing that I find hard is having really good communication, okay? We're all emailing, we're texting, and sometimes somebody gets left out of something. And it's inadvertent, those things happen. But, and one group is working on one thing, another group's working on another thing. And then there are people in the community that don't like specific people on the board, have their preconceived notions about certain people, okay? And I hear it so much that, oh, this person's bad and they can't be put in this position. And this person's great and they should be this and that. People are weighing in all over. There's stuff all over the internet saying this about this. All these theories that go on. It is frustrating as hell dealing with that stuff. How do we as a board function really well when you have all these things? I got a call the other day saying, oh, everybody's going to be charged $500 a year, And I'm going, where did you hear that? I'm going, that's ridiculous. There's nothing going on about that. So please, people, call us, talk to us directly. Don't spread these things. Because I tell you, it drives me nuts.
A couple times I put my email on whatever website. The people are saying stuff, blah, 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 and they're just all going about it. But I said, please, write to me. This is my email, so I can bring it to the board, because it's not going anywhere right now. I mean, you can bitch and moan and make suggestions, but it doesn't go anywhere. Bring it to me, bring it to someone, but I only put mine down there. But it's also in the news and views, and it's online, that you can get all of our emails.
And as board members, we're supposed to be watching everybody's back. We're supposed to be making sure that we're doing things properly. And I think for the most part, we are. Okay, maybe I get a little bit upset and I point something out that I'm not happy with, okay? But that doesn't mean I have a bad board, or I might have a disagreement. And I might be totally wrong, okay? I'll admit it when I'm wrong, okay? Because at some point in time, we're all wrong about something, all right? But I want us to do it. My whole part about being on this board was to help this community, make it function smoothly, so all you people could just go about your golden years enjoying yourself, not bitching and moaning about every little thing,
So, thank you, Richard, for that. I appreciate it. We're down to about 2 minutes left, and we want to try to see if there's anything else before we close out our segment. Jane's going to see if there's anything online on YouTube, any more thoughts or questions we need to address before we hang up.
Somebody's hoping for a pool rules update, so I'm not
Oh, I
sure
appreciate
what that
it.
means.
We'll add it to the list. Okay, folks, I don't see any hands momentarily. So thank you so very much for your time. Thank you.
Village bill unit 4.
Yes.
What's your largest electric bill in here?
What's the what?
Largest electric bill in the community?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. All of them?
Clubhouse.
What's that?
Clubhouse.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Why do we need all these lights?
We'll add that to the list. Thank you for that.
One more thing.
Okay, last question.
You got fans.
What's that?
You have fans.
Uh-huh.
Why are they not on?
You can raise the temperature, put the fans on, and it'll make you feel cold.
Good point. I think we do need to do an energy use analysis. But we'll add that to the list. Thank you very much. Thank you, folks. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. I said, Thank you.
Yes. Each year. So all theoretically said, we're going to stick with our budget. We're spending far more than benefits. We're burning more each year. I know. That's why so either we raise or we need so that's all.
How much each item is going.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, thank you. Bye, bye, bye.